Great.
Okay, hello Sam, and welcome. We wanted to talk to you about your recent prize and to know more about your business and new line of business that you recently launched. If you would like to
Great.
tell us about what's been going on in your life in the past months.
Sure. No, definitely. Thank you, Susana. Great to see you, Emilio. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's exciting to to be speaking to you guys after graduating 10 years ago from Sanchez in Barcelona. But I guess ever since graduating, I went to university in America. Did 4 years of university there in a school called Lehigh University. It's a D1 school in Pennsylvania. So played tennis for 4 years, and then I took a very different approach to most of my college friends who wanted to work in the business world. I told myself, I'm not going to work in a bank. Instead, I'm going to run across America from New York to LA to raise awareness about plastic pollution, which is a problem that I was really seeing a lot in Indonesia, where I live and where I grew up. So my sort of the 10 years after Sanchez have been really dedicated to finding ways to combat plastic pollution, specifically the pollution that's going into the ocean, which once it gets into the ocean, it's very difficult to collect. And it really breaks down into microplastics, and it really, it's not just an eyesore, and it doesn't just look bad for people who live on coastlines, but it's also a huge health problem. We're now eating up to a credit card of plastics every day. So we've been sort of, finding ways to raise awareness from the run. I was running one marathon every day for 6 months. Finally got to LA. It was a nightmare of a journey. I got so many injuries, way more injuries from running than from tennis. But yeah, that was a very exciting trip. And then we wanted to have a more on the ground impact. So we came up with a solution that is a trash barrier that we install in a river, and it catches most of the floating debris that's going into the ocean. Moved back to Indonesia and installed our first barrier, and we started a new company called Sungai Watch. Sungai means river in Indonesian, and it's really a simple but very scalable and cheap solution to stopping plastics from getting into the ocean. So one barrier, right next to my parents' house in Bali, we installed it, and the very next day, the trash, it caught the trash within 24 hours. We cleaned it up. We were sorting in our parents' garage, and it was still a very grassroots organization. But very quickly, we saw the potential for the barrier and how efficient it was at stopping plastics from reaching the ocean. And one barrier quickly grew into two, into five. 3 years later, we now have 300 barriers installed throughout Indonesia's most polluted rivers. We have a team of 120 full-time staff cleaning rivers and cleaning these 300 barriers every day. And every single day, we're now pulling in 3,000 kilos of plastics from these 300 barriers. So it's become, from one small idea into a full-time, essentially, organization and mission to stop plastics from reaching the ocean. We've now collected 2 million kilos of plastics from rivers, which is crazy to think about. And we've been looking for ways to, to grow, to scale, because even though this sounds like a lot of waste, it's still a drop in the bucket. And I think what we're doing is great, but there's so much more room to grow. We're in 2 islands right now in Indonesia, but there's 17,000 islands, 700 islands where people are living in, and dozens, if not hundreds, of countries that need this work. So at Sungai Watch, we're really looking to grow, to expand. How do we bring this solution forward to as many places as possible? So right now we're looking at expanding to the most polluted regions across Indonesia, as well as looking to expand into our second country, into the Philippines next year. But yeah, fighting plastic pollution one river at a time, and really just dedicated to finding ways to stop the plastics from reaching the ocean.
How is possible that there is so much plastic in the rivers?
Yeah, that's the big question, Obviously, we don't want to be cleaning rivers every day. The main issue stems from the lack of waste management. So in Indonesia, they're facing many different problems, from education to healthcare, a variety of other issues that the government is placing a bit more importance on. But really, it stems from this lack of waste management. So, millions of people don't have access to a truck that comes and picks up their trash, like in Barcelona or in Florida. It's very much just they have no other choice but to either burn their trash or to throw it in a river. Because when you throw it in a river, it just flows downstream and it becomes someone else's problem. So we're finding, hundreds of rivers have a crazy amount of plastic pollution in them. So what we're doing is disaster relief. How do we catch the plastic before it goes out into the ocean? And then how do we work upstream to make sure that rivers don't get trashed in the first place? So it's a lot of education, it's a lot of raising awareness, it's a lot of working with governments to put in place better waste management infrastructure, but that comes with funding. So I think the big gap in the conversation is funding, and how do we get as much funding towards waste management? When you look at sort of the nonprofit or philanthropy money as a whole sort of picture, the ocean, out of all the different nonprofit sectors, gets the least amount of funding. So actually, the environment gets the least amount of funding. All the other, sort of sectors get a lot more funding. And within the environment, the sector that gets the least amount of funding within the environment is the ocean. So there's billions of dollars out there being moved, specifically going to nonprofit work, but the ocean is seeing a tiny, tiny fraction of that money. So how do we make sure that, we're moving as much money to build better waste management, to clean rivers, to make sure that the ocean stays clean and protected, because the ocean is one of our biggest and most important resources. We take, 50% of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean. And once plastic reaches the ocean, it's, virtually impossible to collect it. It spreads all throughout the world. So yeah, I guess it's a lot of different things. It's education is also a big problem, but it's really just a question of funding and getting the right people working on this issue.
But you've been also getting some big prizes and some big funding as well to help you, lately.
Yeah, it's been exciting to sort of grow the organization, see the excitement. Recently, we won a prize called the Elevate Prize, which is a prize actually based out of Florida. But they are, they've been an incredible resource for us. But this was 1 month ago, we got awarded the Elevate Prize, which is a $300,000 grant that we'll now be using, to grow our team and make sure that we have, the best team possible to scale up the foundation and scale up the impact. But yeah, very, very grateful for the Elevate Prize, for the funding, and also for all the great connections and opportunities that they're providing.
And the government there helps you also, or they give you some advantages with the foundations, because every country is different. For example, here in the US, you have a lot of advantages with money to get to foundations, but for example, Spain is not so well received. Or how is working there in your country?
It's very difficult. The government has not been putting too much effort, and they're not really helping in any way, really. They're helping to get permits, and they're helping with some connections, but all of our funding is private money or donations on our websites. And 90% of our funding actually comes from the US. So I'm still coming back to New York once in a while, 2-3 times a year to do some fundraising trips, to find some new partners. But the main way that we've been able to grow Sungai Watch is that anyone can sponsor a barrier. So we have 300 of these barriers, and an individual or a company can sponsor a barrier by having their logo on the barrier. And then for 1 year, that sponsorship pays for cleaning it up every single day, as well as also sorting all the trash that we collect. Because when you collect trash, anyone can put a barrier in the river, but you still have to clean it every day. And where does the trash go? We have to make sure that it goes to the facility. We sort it into 30 different materials. So that's sort of the fundraising model for us. So one barrier costs $6,000, and that's the sponsorship. And every 3 months we send the sponsor a report of how much trash the barrier is collected, And then it's great marketing for a lot of companies. So a lot of companies
6,000 for the year. So one barrier,
year.
6,000
Yeah.
to clean a river. That's amazing.
And that, it collects anywhere between 2,000 kilos to 15,000 kilos per year, just that one barrier.
Wow. Amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. And tell us about your new business that is about creating furniture from this plastic. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. We launched 2 weeks ago, brand new sort of venture. We looked at all the trash we're collecting, 2 million kilos,
Wow.
sitting in our warehouses. And in Indonesia, the recycling industry is not so developed either. So a lot of the trash that we're collecting, nobody wants to buy it or nobody wants to recycle it. So we have, tons and tons of waste. So we've had to look, work with engineers, work with designers on finding ways to recycle this material. We're specifically focusing on plastic bags, which is the number one type of plastic we collect in the river. 36% of what we collect is plastic bags, and nobody wants to recycle these bags. So if we don't recycle it ourselves, it has to go to a landfill. And most of the time, these landfills are next to a river. And whenever it rains, that trash goes back into the river. So it's a vicious cycle, but we're looking at bags and finding ways to give it value. So we're turning plastic bags into furniture. So we decided to, we worked on a specific design, which is a parametric design. So most of the time, when you look at recycled plastic furniture, it's very flat and uncomfortable. So we're looking for a little bit of a different approach, something a little bit more design that has a good look, but it also has good comfort. So we launched the ombak chair. Ombak means wave in Indonesian. And so one ombak chair is 2,000 plastic bags recycled. And so we launched this new company called Sungai Design. And yeah, the purpose and the mission of Sungai Design is how do we recycle as much trash from rivers into products that can help fund back the cleanups and help grow the impact.
Wow, that's really impressive. Very nice. I was looking at your website and I was looking at some tables. They look so nice that I think that it will be very successful. And when did you come up with the idea of cleaning up the rivers and now creating furniture? Was it when you were in college, or how did the sparkle lit up?
I mean, I think when I lived in Indonesia for almost 20 years, and I'm not sure, Emilio, if you've been to Bali, but it's sort of, a beautiful place, beautiful islands. And, people always say it's one of the most amazing trips that they've been on. But, over the last 20 years, I've seen more and more plastics on our beaches, more and more plastics in rivers. And it's gotten to the point where, it was too much. Like I had to do something. So with my brother and my sister, we started a media company that we were trying to raise awareness by doing crazy campaigns like this Run Across America, or videos to raise awareness and educate people about plastic pollution. After doing over 200 little documentaries, we realized that views and media can only get you so far. We had to do something more than just videos. So that's when we came up with the barrier. We were looking for ways to have as much impact on the ground, and we realized that if we can stop plastics from reaching the ocean at the source, then we can really solve this issue. We experimented with 10 to 12 different systems with a couple different engineering firms, and eventually came up with our current barrier, which is extremely simple. It's just a floating barrier, and it has 80 centimeters to 1.5 meters of metal grid that sits below the surface of the water, so fish can still swim under the barrier, and it catches 80 to 90% of whatever floats down the river. So it's really cheap to build. It's very quick to build, so we can sort of install them in as many rivers as possible, in all the river mouths of Bali, to make sure that we're protecting the ocean as much as possible. And then the main sort of thing was, okay, now we installed the barrier. What happens next? We have to clean it every day. That means we need to hire people. We need to buy trucks. Where does the trash go? We need to build a facility. We need to come up with a sorting operating structure. Once it's been sorting, what happens? We have to wash the trash. Once it gets washed, you have to dry it, then you have to shred it. So it's been like a very much a learning lesson. No one sort of has ever told me, this is how it should be done. It's really just been by testing, failing, and just trying again, and really just experimenting. And it's been a big life school for us over the last 3 years, and we're just learning every day. We're improving every day, and we're just finding ways to be more efficient, but with one goal in mind, which is how do we make sure that our ocean stays plastic free, and how do we make sure that our rivers don't get plastic in them.
This failing and looking forward and failing and looking forward reminds me to something, no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very, very similar to a game of tennis.
Where is tennis in your life now? What memories you have when you were with us, and if it at all helped you to be resilient and fight, no? Because this is what you're talking about, is resilience and a fight for a dream and for a passion that you have, no? So it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably a big part of as you said, of losing, how many matches, or you're down, one set and you're about to lose the match, and then like how do you pivot, and how do you make sure that you stay confident enough, or look for new ways of beating your opponents. For us, it's really the opponent is plastic, and how do we combat this enemy? And it's really just finding ways of being resilient, and knowing that no matter how many times you lose, you can still improve. There's still ways to get better, and it's really just a matter of looking inside and really just being sort of being persistent. And I think that's really what tennis does teach you, that because you're by yourself. There's a net in between you and your opponents, and no one else is going to do it for you. You have to be a fighter. You have to keep going, and no matter, sometimes there's elements in the way. You have rain, you have wind. With cleaning rivers, it's the same thing. We have you're cleaning rivers where there's water and there's crazy storms, and sometimes the barrier breaks. But yeah, we're just really just looking for ways to keep going. And I think we acknowledge that we might not be the best right now, but we're still doing something good. And that's really what matters. Every day is a new day, and every day we're pulling in 3,000 kilos, but that number keeps growing. And I think tennis is definitely something that taught me that.
Yeah, I remember that one year you did a keynote speaker for our students, and you really inspired them, and they were so thankful and admiring you so much on this journey that you're having. So now we are celebrating our 25th anniversary, and you are one of our top stories. And we do this also for all the network and all the people that we have, that they are most of them young players, as you know. So what you will tell them now that you are 10 years after, well, you are 14 years, because after they finish high school, they go to college, and now through tennis, so through this mentality, you are playing this huge match. And what you will tell the audience, what advice will you give them? And that you live those years in the academy, how it is and how difficult it is when you are young. So what message you want to give them, because last time you helped them a lot?
Looking back, it's funny how I had no idea what was in front of me. I think at the time, the only sort of thing that's on your mind when you're about to graduate from Sanchez is, how can I get to the best university possible, or how do I become a professional tennis player? Unfortunately, I was not good enough, so I went to college.
But college is also high level. So you think, no, I'm not pro, but I'm gonna go to college. But now it's so difficult. So people think, no, I'm gonna go to college, but now it's even so difficult to go also to college. So You did. You were pretty good.
But I would say, it was definitely the best years of my life. Being at Sanchez Casal, being at university, and being able to, be lucky enough that you're playing tennis, and really realizing that you have to do what you love. I think that's what I'm realizing now. I'm not doing this because someone told me you have to clean rivers. I'm really doing it because it feels amazing to be giving back, to be growing an organization, to be working with an amazing team. And it's really the same when you're playing college tennis. It is an individual sport, but you're on a team. And I think just cherishing the moments that you have and really enjoying it as much as you can, and not being too stressed out. I think oftentimes I was very stressed out. When I was making all the applications for university, when I was in university, I didn't know what I was going to do after university. How do you make money? How do you find a job? I think being patient is really important, but also, being persistent. And I think that's really where success will come. And it's, no matter how many times you fail, keep trying, keep looking for new ways to get better. I think that's sort of the best advice I can give, but also do what you love. And, when I graduated from university, Sungai Watch didn't exist yet. And it took, now is really the first time where we're seeing success, especially when you work in the nonprofit space. It's very difficult to become successful because, people don't necessarily want to give you money. So for many years, I wasn't making any money at all. And Sungai Watch was only just starting, and it was only through persistence that we got to where we are today. And finally, we can breathe a little bit. We're winning grants like the Elevate Prize. We're getting new partners that are helping us grow. And we're now launching this furniture business, and it's sort of the same thing. We just started. We don't know if it's going to be successful, but it's only through persistence that we believe in it. And luckily this time, because this is now the third business that I'm starting, we're launching. And within 2 weeks, we already have hundreds of demands, and it's incredible to see the success. But that would have never been the case with the first business, which was a media company. It was not doing so well for very long, and that's always going to be the case when you first start something. When your first ever match in college, I'm pretty sure I lost 6-0, 6-1, because it was the first ever time I was playing for a team, and I was super nervous. And you got to realize that you get a lot better with experience and with time. And yeah, I think so. Persistence, do what you love, and enjoy the moments that you have right now.
And if you like now is people likes to put quotes and make sentences, and so if you will have to define yourself and with a short phrase, maybe we can use it even as a title of the interview, like how you will define yourself as like very synthetic and very direct.
Yeah, I guess we have a motto for a long time, which is no idea is crazy enough. And I think when you look at,
did you do that? Did you make that?
Yeah, so that was our slogan for the run. It was no idea is crazy enough. And I think not all crazy ideas are good, but I forget what it is. I'll send it to you via email afterwards. But there's a good saying where it's like, not all crazy ideas are good, but all great ideas are crazy. And I think it's sort of the same thing where, yeah, if you think you have an idea that's crazy, just do it and then see where it takes you. When we started Sungai Watch, it was one small crazy idea of putting a barrier in the river, but now it's led to this, this big organization. And I never thought, when I was at Sanchez Casal, that we would be cleaning rivers every day. But here we are, and it's been a fun ride.
Great.
Well, it's all about passion, no? Passion for tennis, now passion for what you're doing. it seems like when you really do what you love, things go in a certain way, and now it's what's happening to you, right? You're talking about that, and I can see that it's something that it's your passion right now, this project. And
yeah, and I'm sure Emilio, you can probably say the same thing with tennis. For you, your whole life has been revolved around tennis, and that's only through by doing what you love that I'm sure you got to where you are.
Totally.
Could you like to send to our student athletes a
message or encourage them?
A message, a direct message to them?
Yeah, I think similar to what I just said, enjoy the days and the months that you have at Sanchez. It's a beautiful academy. You're surrounded by people who only want to help you, and enjoy it as much as you can. You're going to look back and it's going to be some of the best years of your life. And yeah, really just find that passion and stick with it. It might be difficult at first, but eventually good things will happen. I think good things happen to good people. And when you throw yourself at something that you're passionate about, then success will come. It might take a few years. You might get lucky and it might be faster, but when you get to that point, then it becomes really fun and you really are enjoying what you do. And I think I'm lucky enough that cleaning rivers, I'm liking it. So it's been fun and yeah.
Well, congratulations on all your successes and your recent award. It's been great interviewing you and also knowing all the things that have come up in the last years and where you are now. And I think that this message is very powerful for our student athletes. I'm pretty sure that will be inspiring for them and also for us. It's a very good message.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys. It's been great to speak with you.
Well, thanks, Sam, as always, and keep it up. And I hope to see you at some moment. You show up in one tournament or in Barcelona. We can clean the river also in Barcelona there next to us.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.